Uh,
Cool.
Dude, honor and privilege. Thank you so much for giving me your time.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Thanks for asking me to be on the show. I'm excited to chat.
Show that always makes me feel a bit weird.
What does?
The
Saying
show, it's
thanks.
just talking
Oh,
shit, man. It's
yeah.
like I get a question about
Yeah.
all the time. A good mate of mine in the gym recently was like, "Do you prepare?" I was like, "Did we
Mm.
prepare for this conversation right now?" He was like, "No, that'd be weird." I was like, "Exactly. No, there's no
True.
preparation. It's getting a coffee,
And
maybe."
the best stuff comes out when you're unprepared anyway. I'm kind of like that with my interviews as well. Like I do a bit of CrossFit media work, and I also kind of don't prepare either because the best conversations, like you said, come up in the moment,
Mm.
like talking about things that either have just happened or that kind of roll naturally from conversations. But I think you've got to also know who you're talking to as well. Otherwise, there's like a certain thing is completely unprepared, but I think there's also something as too over prepared. So let's
Mm.
see where it takes us.
Yeah, I think it comes across real scripted, you know. If you've
Yeah.
got a set of questions and you want to navigate it in certain ways, and especially
Mm-hmm.
if you see somebody like looking down and
Yeah.
reading, you're like, dude,
It breaks
yeah,
the flow.
you want me to come back 10 minutes later when you're ready? You know what I mean? Just talk shit with them. It's okay. And it comes across way more personable.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
soft skills, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
it's great in our industry with fitness and people and around this kind of fitness scene as the soft skills,
Mm.
right? Because that's what
Yeah.
builds those relationships rather than, oh,
Yeah.
you've got a degree on your wall, fantastic, or you've
Yeah.
got like a really meticulously planned out question or set of
Yeah.
questions. Not just be an half
Yeah.
decent person, try not to be a dick,
Yeah. Yeah. And
have a
then
good
like
time.
active listening, be present, engage in conversation, all those things. They're all life skills, right? They're not just
Yeah.
professional skills, they're life skills.
So what's it like being in the media side of CrossFit? I want to say behind the scenes, but you're not, if that makes sense.
No,
Like you're
it's
way
kind
in
of
front of the scenes.
in the scenes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in the scenes. I
Yeah.
like
Look,
that.
in short, it's amazing. I love it so much. I was playing a game with my partner the other day, and one of the questions was, what sets your heart on fire? I think was the question or something like that. And like, honestly, for me, it's being on camera in CrossFit. Like, there is nothing that makes me feel more alive, more human, more in touch with myself, more like aligned with my soul's path, if that is such a thing, than being on camera in the CrossFit space. It's like a drug to me. It's honestly addictive. Like I finish um, a day of filming or something like that, and I feel like I've taken drugs or something like that because it's just this feeling of it's so hard to explain. Like I love it so much. I love the craft of being in front of a camera, and I love the CrossFit community. Like I will be a CrossFitter at heart for the rest of my life, no matter if I'm doing the sport or not. So like in short, it's the best. And the actual people in CrossFit and the team behind the scenes are incredible as well. Like just such a group of great people with real like person first approach. Like they care about their people before they care about the product, I suppose. But as you would know in business, when you care about your people will take care of the product.
100%.
And it's just such a great environment. It's just a group of really great people, and I get to travel the world, so can't really complain with that. But I love it so much.
Dude, I think that's what people need to find. That's that one thing
Mm-hmm.
that feels like they've kind of taken something a little suspicious, and they're like, I
Yeah,
am
yeah,
so
yeah. This is
buzzed.
too good.
Yeah, it's like, are you
Yeah,
sure I'm getting paid for this? It's like, yeah, bro. Like,
yeah,
you don't think about that no more. It's like, how can I now be better at what I'm doing, right? So then serving
yeah,
our people a little bit better and giving a better service and having a better time and just seeing smiles on faces and you
yeah.
start paying attention to the little intricacies and the little details, right? And it's just like, yeah,
Mm,
man, you want to do that. You're spending your time in a place that you want to be in, doing something that you want
yeah,
to do, rather than just,
yeah.
clock in, clock out. I need to find a
Absolutely.
hobby, right? Because you're fucking depressed as hell being in your job. It's like, no,
Yeah.
man, go find something.
But on the flip side of that, it's not all like sunshine and rainbows. Like it's not every step of the way is not enjoyable. It doesn't come without its challenges. It doesn't come without its like fucking hard work. If you want to do something to a high level, it takes a lot of work. And so we've got to avoid the idea that just because it sets our heart on fire and is aligned with our sole purpose, that it's going to be all fun.
Mm.
I think in my life anyway, the things that feel the best also sometimes hurt the most. And like a romantic relationship is a great example of that. Like it brings us so much love and so much happiness. But then when things go wrong, it can be completely like life destroying. And so we live life on a spectrum. And the further we go out on this end, the further there is to bounce back on the other end. And I feel like the same comes with career. If you want to feel really good about these things, it takes a lot of work. But if you have your eye on the prize, the ultimate goal, you know where you're going, you know why you're doing it, it makes the hard work worth it. So, in amongst all of that happiness, I've also had a lot of shit going through getting to this point and still at this point as well. So, that's life though, night and day, black and white, yin and yang, the one can't exist without the other.
I couldn't agree more, mate. And I think rather than it being across a line on that spectrum, it's more of a circle, right? And love and
Mm-hmm.
hate are usually separated between two fine lines. And that's
Yeah.
usually the case of doing a passion project or just loving what you
Yeah.
do, right? If you pour
Yeah.
all your cup or all your water out your cup into this thing, into this
Yeah.
job, right? And you're like,
Yeah.
cool, you're gonna get that come down, and
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
pretty much give yourself mania, right? So you're going so
Yeah.
far up in the sky and you're going crazy, everything's going great, and then you're
Mm.
dropping down to the bottom, and it's like you have to be able to find beauty in both of those, right? You've got to
Mm-hmm.
kind of prehab yourself of you're going to get a come down from
Mm.
this. Why? Because you've been working constantly for 2 fucking weeks.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you're gonna get a bit of an adrenal dump, right? And you're gonna feel like shite
Absolutely.
for a while.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's being able to manage those lows and seeing whether
Mm.
they're worth the highs, right?
Yeah. And consistently remember what you're doing and why you're doing it. And I think in the pursuit of, let's call it finding the ultimate career, whatever that looks like for people,
Mm.
it's also you're going to go through periods of completely doubting your abilities and screwing up as well, making mistakes, doing things wrong, getting insulted by people, burning out, which we spoke about before that call. And I consider my, where I am now in my media work to be the pinnacle for me anyway. Like, hosting the CrossFit Games, hosting the CrossFit Open for me is like the ultimate job that I could have ever, dreamt of having in my life. Like, I'm not interested in hosting any other sports, golf, tennis, whatever. Like, that just doesn't interest me. But in order to get there, it's taken 10 years of failing, let's say, and consistently getting back up again and not letting that get in my way. And it's kind of like a funnel. A lot of people start and then only a couple of people make it through the very bottom. And I think it's so cliche, but it's like it's your ability to just get back up again and keep trying that really determines how far you make it in your career, if that's what we're talking about specifically now.
Mm-hmm. You fell forward, mate, and I don't think it's cliche. I think it's
Mm,
you took the knock and you took the lesson with it, and you were like, okay,
mm,
cool. How can I apply it to the next one? Keep going.
mm-hmm,
Find another door, knock on it, go through it. Find another
mm-hmm,
door that gets slammed
mm-hmm.
on your face. Fuck. Walk down the hallway. Find another door.
Yeah.
Maybe you got to carve
Yeah.
one out of a brick wall. Maybe you got to
Yeah.
smash one in. Like it. That's
Yeah.
okay. That's kind of like the character arc. We are just
Yeah.
characters, and you can basically apply that to everything. And career is definitely one of them. In that
Yeah.
slump where it comes down and everyone gets really demotivated and they're like, "Oh, is this
Mm.
shit really for me? Maybe I gotta quit and be an
Yeah.
accountant or something. I don't know. That's definitely not for me. Like numbers is not my
No, me
thing.
neither.
If I don't work
Neither.
with my hands, I'm pretty fucked. Like it's
Yeah.
not gonna work. But that's
Yeah.
where you learn, right? And then it starts coming back
Absolutely.
up, and then you just skyrocket
Yep.
towards the ceiling, and then everyone looks at you and go, "Oh, you're so lucky." It's like, dude,
No.
that's a 10-year overnight sensation. You know what I mean? That is, and then there's 10 years
Absolutely.
before that, and maybe 10 years before that, and 10 years before that as well, depending on
Yeah.
where you are, what you're doing. And
Yeah.
this all
Yeah.
those little intricacies come together and make that final product of the skill set
Yeah.
that you have now. You know,
Yeah.
well, my question for you would be, how do you manage burnout?
Oh, how
Sorry
do
to
I
kick you under
manage
the
burnout?
bus.
No, no, it's a great question. And I mean, I think it's timely because I'm in a point of my life at the moment where I feel like I am getting very close to potential burnout. And if I, don't look after myself, I've got a very hard reality. And the other side of this period of my life, I'm in like what I would call a grind phase of my business, I suppose, of going through a huge rebuilding in the entire structure of my company, how I operate my business, which is also a bit of an identity change for me. And the days are long, and my energy outpour is constant at the moment. And then you've got personal things that happen in and around those things as well. And I think, God, there's a lot of different ways that I manage burnout, but obviously the most important thing is looking after my physical health and my mental health. So all of the things that I work with my clients on are things that I need to constantly be reminding myself of. Am I looking after myself with quality nutrition? Am I feeding myself properly? Because when we get stressed, it's super easy to want to cope with food, and that's a natural and normal response that we have. And sometimes that devil takes over, and that's okay. But, reminding myself that I always feel best when I eat well. And for me, I can't be focusing on things like weight loss when I'm super stressed. I need to shift my focus. It's not about body composition. It's about health. It's about eating enough nutritious food, drinking enough water, training, sleeping, and mental health. So I don't know how many things those are, but yeah, food, water, and exercise are the kind of physical exertion things. Rest and recovery. So I make sure to schedule in my diary self-care time, which is just as important as building a website or jumping on a podcast with you. Like, they need to be scheduled. This afternoon, I've got a massage booked in. It's one of those things where I'm like, I don't have the time. I really can't do this, but also I don't have the time to actually get burnt out either. So it's like, choose your hard. And then sleep and mental health. I go to therapy once a week. I have a great social network. I make sure that I put aside time to see my friends. I, chill out on the couch with my dogs. But it's not like I'm spending a lot of time each week doing all of these things. It's just making sure that I'm aware of them. And then other things, like if I'm feeling really burnt out, I will stop drinking coffee, because I'm really sensitive to coffee. It's a great stimulant for me, but in the same breath, when my nervous system is really charged and I can feel my anxiety building, I need to reduce the things that are uppers for me. And coffee is one of those things. And I just came off a week of no coffee, and I'm now adding it back in because I love coffee, but taking a break from coffee is another thing that I do. So no real kind of simple answer, just looking after myself.
Dude, there's never
Really.
any simple answers, and that's the point,
Anything.
It's just figuring
Yeah.
things out and adding it and taking it out, just like coffee.
Yeah.
How
Yep.
was that? How was the week without it?
I do it regularly enough for it to not be so shocking. But the first time I did, or the most recent time I had taken a break after the biggest stint of coffee drinking, it was torture. I had headaches. My eyes weren't adjusting properly. Like, I'd spin my head and it'd be like slow, like a sprinkler. Headaches, low moods. Like, it's actually kind of scary how much coffee, which is, an otherwise healthy thing to have in our diet, we can actually rely on it so heavily to the point where, we're almost unable to operate without it. And it's very easy to not want to get rid of it, because having a few days like that, most people can't afford to have kind of coffee withdrawals and those detox symptoms. But I thankfully am not a coffee snob, in that I can have decaf and it tastes the same, similar enough to me. There are a lot of people that are just like, decaf is disgusting. But the withdrawal symptoms are pretty intense. But after 3 to 4 days, my sleep is the biggest thing that I notice the improvement on. I hit the pillow and I am ready to sleep. Whereas when I have coffee, I hit the pillow and it takes me 30 minutes to wind down. Sometimes I have to listen to a podcast or a meditation. But it's like my body's natural circadian rhythm and things like melatonin production restore back to how they should be.
Mm.
And I'm tired at the end of the day, and I wake up with energy. Who knew the body is capable of doing that without coffee? But it takes a few days to get there. But these days, now that I go on coffee breaks every kind of 3 to 6 months, I don't have such significant symptoms.
Wow. Like I've never played
Mm.
around with like cutting it out completely for a
Mm.
week or a couple of days or something like that.
Yeah.
I know some people have done like month, and I think that's a
Yeah.
bit crazy. Not for me.
Yeah.
But I have
Yeah.
played around with no coffee before workouts, right?
Mm.
And the heart rate and be able to consistently just keep yourself at a calmer level and just cruise through a workout, dude, it is game changing. You know, a lot of people like
Without
without,
without coffee?
yeah, man.
Really?
Yeah, man.
As
Like if
opposed to that kind of spike and then crash.
100%,
Mm.
especially here in New Zealand, like obviously being from Manchester, I'm used to cold air, right? I can
Mm-hmm.
breathe in the cold. If it gets hot, I really struggle breathing. It's usually why I try
Mm-hmm.
and force myself in the sauna because, you
Mm-hmm.
know, just cards that I'm dealt biologically not the best at
Yeah.
breathing in the warm air, right?
In
In ours, I'd
heat.
be
Yeah.
fucked.
You would.
So it's like, yeah, if I do a workout and I've smashed the coffee beforehand, usually my
Yeah.
heart rate is through my bloody mouth. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
really.
yeah, I'm trying to like calm myself down, which usually doesn't work too well. But if I'm like, all right, I'm
Yeah.
just gonna kind of walk into this workout, no coffee, even in the morning,
Mm.
you know, I've got no coffee in the morning, just kind of walk in, do like a team
Mm-hmm.
workout or like a
Mm.
cardio bash on a Saturday morning or something. Always
Mm-hmm.
feel way better,
Yeah. Yeah.
way better.
And I think we have um forgotten how to trust our bodies to take us through, busy days at work or intense training sessions. And we become reliant on things like pre-workout and coffees. And then once you build a reliance on that, then you've got to build up from there. And it
Yeah,
can become a really vicious cycle of
yeah,
burnout. And these things that stimulate our nervous system can also be the thing that crashes the nervous system, and that exhausts our adrenals to the point of not being able to operate. And so we have to be really careful how much we rely on these things, and remember that our bodies are designed to reach high intensities and to have high output, as long as we take care of the yin and the yang, and we're looking
yeah.
after that rest phase as well.
Yeah, for sure. We just got to understand it's an adaptive thing, right?
Yeah.
This thing just
Yeah.
adapts. That's what we're doing in the workouts. We're
Yeah.
just trying to get
Yeah.
some sort of physiological adaptation, and the
Mm.
exercise selection just is tools that we use to do that. You know, it's the
Yeah.
same with our nutrition. We're just trying to get something
Yeah.
out of it, and they're just
Yeah.
tools. You know,
Yeah.
and if we're
Yeah.
just smashing some coffee all day long, or some pre-workout, or now we're double scooping,
Yeah.
maybe triple scooping, you're like, dude, what the
Yeah.
fuck is going on?
Yeah, and there's such thing as a healthy balance. That these are tools that can be utilized when appropriate. Before competition or something like that. If you've got 3 workouts in a day, sure, have your pre-workout at the end of that third workout. You're going to need that extra
Yeah,
boost.
yeah.
But to build a dependence and a reliance on a daily basis is something that I don't personally recommend. But I'll never tell someone else what's best for themselves. If that's what they enjoy and they feel good, then at the end of the day, we need to give people back the power to make decisions for their own lives. But in my personal experience and for my recommendations, it's don't build a dependency on anything.
Yeah, I think so too, man. You know, I think just kind of growing through this, I think we need some sort of balance, you know, and I think we
Mm-hmm.
need some sort of balance in we need to do something physical and we need to do something non-physical. You know,
Mm-hmm.
now relating it kind of left field of like we need some sort of painting or writing or journaling
Mm.
or
Mm-hmm.
meditation or something like that. It
Creative.
gets a little hippy dippy, and I'm like, yeah, we are
Yeah.
creative beings. You know,
Yes.
we're just
Yep.
now funneled into two lines and be like, you're gonna have a logical brain. You're like, ah,
Yeah.
yes, that's
Yeah.
necessary, but we also need to do something creative
Yeah.
and just find something. It doesn't matter. It could be
Yeah.
shit and you never post it. That's fine.
Yeah.
You've
Yeah.
expressed yourself in a manner that you deem fit and closest to you,
Yeah.
you know? And it's the
Yeah.
same with is CrossFit for anybody? Yes. Is it for
Yeah.
everybody? Maybe not, because people might
Yeah.
not enjoy it, you know, and that's all right.
Yep.
Go do something else.
Absolutely. And I mean, I've had to learn that really hard lesson probably in the last couple of months. Like I said to you before I got on this call, like I'm a CrossFitter at heart, or maybe I said it on the call. I'll always be a CrossFitter. But I'm actually not doing CrossFit at the moment because CrossFit requires something from me anyway, not from everyone, that is really intense. And I do not have the resources right now to exert myself in a CrossFit class. And I've had to accept and lower my expectations of myself, because in this period of busy work, I would go into the gym and the only way that I could relate it is that it felt like I hadn't eaten for 10 weeks. My ability to exert myself and to push myself and to hit that high intensity just wasn't there. And it's all well and good to say, just take it easy or go slow. And, we can do that. I'm just not programmed like that. Like, I can't rock up to a class where there's 1 RMs and not get caught up in it. And in this time of my life, which I hope is only, a couple of months more, because I do love CrossFit and I want to go back to CrossFit, I've had to acknowledge that in this point in my life, CrossFit is too much for me. It's too much out. And I am now trying to find a way of movement and exercise that's just a little bit more lower intensity. Because I was also finding that I was not going to the gym at all, because I'd get to the middle of the day and I'd be like, I just couldn't think of anything worse than doing strict pull-ups and box jumps and burpees. I just couldn't think of anything worse. So I just not train. And then I thought, that's not good for me. I need to find something that I enjoy. So I went to the gym and I sat on the bike for 40 minutes and it was so satisfying. And sure, I burnt half the amount of calories. I didn't work up as much of a sweat as I normally would, but I felt good because it was my energy release. But at the same time, it was filling my cup. But I right now can't do CrossFit. And that's a really hard thing for me to accept, because CrossFit is literally my life. But right now I can't do it. And that's okay.
That's okay, mate. Everything comes to pass. This too shall pass, as everything is going around at the moment. My mum says that to me fucking weekly. This too shall pass. I was like, thanks, mum. You've told me this a lot. It's like, well, fucking listen. I was like, yeah, fair enough.
Your mum knows. And you think about, almost every shitty time that we've gone through as humans, and they kind of do pass. Your mum's kind of right.
Every time, everything changes. The only constant in life is in fact change. And that's okay. If CrossFit isn't for you for a specific time or forever, that's okay for people. If it is for a specific time or forever, again, that's all right. I think that's a really great point of, team, it's okay to take some time off if you want. And it's also okay to come into the gym and be like, hey coach, it's a no day today. It's not a go day, it's a no day. You're like, all right, sweet, we're going to change things out. I'm going to add some tempo stuff in there. We might change the objects. You should be able to talk shit with me continuously for 60 minutes. I was like, cool. I was like, if I just shout out, tell me a story, you should be able to turn around and start telling me some sort of noddy or tell me straight away. Right. And it's like, okay, sweet. And again, people just navigating through. It's like, that's all we're doing, guys. We're trying to feel it out. We're trying to move around. We're trying to get a box ticks. We're trying to find our little small win. Right. And then we're going to leave the gym, hopefully, as better people rather than just better athletes. Because we focus on like efficacy of fucking movement, fantastic, and numbers on a barbell. That's all sexy, but are you a better person because you came in here? And if the answer is no, then I've not done my job.
Go somewhere else.
Go somewhere else, man. We're trying to be better people.
I think at the end of the day, you just have to know yourself, know your body, know your limits, know what you're capable of. And sometimes you get it wrong and sometimes you lose touch with that. But at the end of the day, you know yourself best. And that's where you seek professionals like yourself in the training area for support on how to work within your abilities. And it's easier said than done, but it's just a process of checking in and saying what's possible for me today. 100%. And it might be different every day.
100%. And don't be afraid to take a back step. You got to calm that little voice in the back of your head that says you should be doing X, Y, Z, or you used to be able to do A, B, C. It's like, fuck that shit. No one cares what you used to be able to do. Like,
if I compare myself to my, let's say, 2015 self, I look at my score in the open, or I can't remember what year it was, and the things that I was physically able to do, I probably will never get back to that stage ever again. I was training twice a day. There's this notion of constantly being better than yesterday and constantly improving, but we have to look at, what does improvement mean for us now? For me, it doesn't mean lifting more weights or having a heavier squat or doing more strict pull-ups, because I will never be as physically strong and fit as I was 7 years ago. And I don't want to be, because my life has changed. I don't have the time to train twice a day. My body feels different at 32 than it did at 25. And just, it's okay to decline in some areas, let's call it, or to, minimize expectations of our physical abilities, because sometimes growth looks different in different phases of life. And for me right now, I'm solely focused on my business, and that's what growth means to me. And just being active is that box ticked. Just get outside, move, get your heart rate up. Some days it's in the gym, some days it's not in the gym, but I will never be the athlete that I was 7 years ago. And I am so okay with that.
Beautiful. I think people need to fucking take that and listen to that every day. That's fucking
Yeah,
okay.
it is okay. It is okay.
I think I say it once a week in the gym of, guys, we don't make our money doing this.
Mm.
They kind of look at
Mm-mm.
me like, what do you mean? I was like, we're not professional athletes. Like
Mm-mm.
it doesn't fucking matter. Did you feel something
No.
heavy? Yeah, it felt heavy today, but it's like half my max. I was like, great. It felt
Mm-hmm.
heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Box ticked.
Mm-hmm.
Move on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh,
And
but I was like,
also, I've dated a professional athlete, and God love James, we still have a great relationship, but I would never want to do what they have to do to be
oh,
professional athletes.
yeah.
It is not as glamorous as it looks. It is no way. It is not for me. Like, what they have to go through is just
Oh, it's
not
mental.
as, yeah, not as fun as it may seem. You just get to work out every day. Oh God, no.
No, man. You feel like shit
Mm-hmm.
basically constantly, all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It
Yep.
is pretty much a mental illness to be a pro athlete these days.
100% agree. You got to be a little bit you got to
Mental.
be wired differently, and a little bit crazy. And also, our bodies aren't designed to do that much exercise and take that much load. And James would always say to me, like, this is not good for my long-term health. I acknowledge that the training that I'm doing right now is not good for longevity, but I'm not doing it for longevity. I'm doing it because I have a, whatever it is, a default in my system that requires me to be the best at something in the world. And like, I'm so glad I don't have that, because it requires so much sacrifice for yourself, your life, relationships, careers. It's huge.
I love the fact he was able to identify that. It's
He
always
was,
sad when
yeah.
you see the athlete that
Yeah.
just digs himself an early grave, literally, and they
Yep.
come out like
Yep.
way worse
Yep.
than they should be. It's just like, no,
Yeah.
guys, like you got to identify that. Don't get me wrong. I'll fucking
Awareness.
awareness. I'll help you
Yeah.
get as far as you want, but you need to know when to pull this fucking pin.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. When you've taken it too far, or when it's
Mm.
actually become detrimental.
Dude, I got three quick questions.
Yep.
What's the greatest piece of life advice you've ever received?
Oh my gosh, the greatest piece of life of advice that I've ever received. I'm really bad at being able to think of things quickly on the spot.
It's okay,
So
man.
whatever I come up with is probably not going to be the greatest piece of advice I've ever received. But
Putting you on the spot again. I'm sorry.
no, it's fine. I mean, you always come up with good stuff on the spot. I guess I'll just, tie it back into what we've already been talking about, and um reflect on something that I had in a therapy session last week, and that was that it is okay to rest. It's okay to take a backseat. And I guess that's just the theme of my life right now with CrossFit. Stopping CrossFit was a huge mentality shift for me. And so understanding that it's okay to take your foot off the pedal in some areas of life was something that was really life-changing for me recently. Whether or not it's the best advice I've ever received, probably not. But that's something that I recall from a recent conversation that, was super helpful for me.
And it's needed right now. So that's great advice.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
What's the worst piece of life advice you've ever received?
Oh God, the worst piece of advice I've ever received. Um, I've made a lot of reckless decisions in my life and my business, and I won't, throw anyone into a hole here, but like there was someone that, told me to I guess like take a lot of risks, and which you have to take a lot of risks. and like listen to your gut on things, which all of these things are true. So I guess it's not really bad life advice. But I had a mentor in my life who just was really reckless with decisions and not calculated with planning. And I got myself into a hole where I'd done a sequence of really reckless, not thought out decisions that put me into a hole. And so while I'm a risk taker and someone that, will impulsively do a lot of things, I probably have taken too many unthought out risks in my life. And so I guess, like, even though it wasn't direct advice, it was like guidance from someone who I looked up to that taught me so many lessons, but made my life harder than it needed to be.
Yeah, I understand. We need calculated risks, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. But sometimes we've got to make really, really dumb choices and do stupid things to learn the biggest lessons, which I have done.
Sounds like my life.
A sequence of stupid, dumb mistakes. Snap.
Yeah. Being blonde. Oh, yeah, here we are. Dude, what are the 3 words you tell your younger self?
3 words. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. It's not as bad as you think it is. When I'm sure that when I get to 90 or 100, when I die, all of these insignificant things are going to be all good. Like, it's all good. Whatever you're experiencing right now, it's all good. Whatever shit you're going through, it's all good. It's all meant to be. It's part of the process. Yeah. You are okay.
I like
or
that a
maybe
lot.
You are okay.
It's all good. You are okay. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Mate, thank you so much for squeezing in some time. I know you're crazy busy,
welcome.
so I appreciate it a lot. Thank you.
Nah, thanks for the chat. It was great to catch up and talk about all things business and life and CrossFit.
Talk shop, right? We can always talk shit and shop whenever you want, mate.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. You have a great day.
Thank you. Same to you.
Thanks,
Bye.
man. Bye, everybody.